Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dynamite Download presents the Collision Control Center. And I am not Eddie Kingston. I am Mindrunner, here to take us through what a tremendous collision we just had this past Saturday night on March 29th. And it was a very female-driven women's division episode. It was incredible. There were a lot of promos, a lot of great matches, and of course, some great moments that will pop you out of your seat if you're a fan of the AEW women's division. We are definitely cooking in AEW. Let's get right to it. Of course, first things first, we got to hear from our timeless champion herself, Toni Storm. She came out with all the pomp and circumstances, and first she attempted to call out Megan Bayne, and then since Megan didn't show up, she once again had one of her one-woman performances in the ring with the spotlight on her, but unfortunately that spotlight may have actually sealed her doom. You gotta first go and see this promo. Toni Storm is again she's masterclass promo, again talking about how at Dynasty she's going to rip Megan Bayne's tits off and put them in her handbag. But as she approached the edge of the ring to close in on the camera, all of a sudden, bam, she gets kicked in the face by a Penelope Ford who attacked her. Now, Toni Storm, our champion, was able to fight her off, but that was just a distraction for Megan Bayne, the Megasis herself, to enter the ring and destroy our timeless champion in front of everybody, demanding that she bow down to the Megasis. Now, this has really got me hyped up. I'm actually a little nervous because what are they going to do? If timeless Toni Storm retains, does that diminish Megan Bayne's power? Or is Megan Bayne going to walk away as champion at Dynasty? Also, a little side note that I thought was pretty cool. You'll notice after Toni Storm gives her the sweet cheek music, you'll notice throughout the rest of the interaction, there's a big Penelope Ford-faced mark of makeup on one of Toni's butt cheeks. It was actually, you couldn't miss it. Once you notice it, it was pretty cool. But this was a fantastic start to a fantastic collision and definitely a women's division focused event tonight. It was fantastic. Loved every minute of it. Well, almost every minute of it. We'll get to that in a second. But it was a great start to a great night. And then the first match of the night, actually a men's match, go figure, was Jay White against Kevin Knight. Now, first up, you may at first glance think this is just a jobber squash match, but it was anything but. Of course, Jay White coming out and just showing why he is the Switchblade and should be a AEW champion in the near future. But this Kevin Knight comes from New Japan, I believe. He's gotten some prominence there, and he put on a display. He was able to counter a lot of Switchblade's moves. Granted, Switchblade was dominant for most of the match, but Kevin was really able to show some of the high-flying maneuvers that he could do, including this drop kick that puts even Okada's drop kick to shame. It was phenomenal. Put on a great show and made Switchblade earn his money for this match. Now, granted, of course, the Switchblade did end up getting the 1-2-3 as he eye-flubbed the camera during the 1-2-3. He was fighting really hard to keep that cottage cheese from coming out of his mouth. That usually happens, but he was successful there. But Switchblade couldn't help but acknowledge that he was taken to the limit with this guy, and he got the crowd to acknowledge that Kevin Knight was definitely a superior wrestler than just some jobber from the local YMCA. It was fantastic. And then he cut an incredible promo, not only putting his name in for the Owen Hart Cup tournament, which, of course, the winner gets a shot at the title, but he also took a moment to put him over, and he also mentioned that he is destined to be champion. He's been talking about a lot of the things that are going on. One noticeably absent, of course, is the rest of the Bang Bang Gang. Will they show up at Dynasty? Will they show up over the next couple weeks here? We will have to see. But it was great. It was a great display. And, of course, not long after this moment, Tony Khan went to the Twitter X and announced that Kevin Knight is indeed All Elite. Super excited about this guy. Really excited to see what matches he could be involved in. Will he join a faction? Could he become a member of the crew? With Top Flight now having AR Fox as their third, will the crew be looking for a third member as well? Or could he be go solo? Could he join Commander and Hologram? There's a lot of potential for this guy. The sky's the limit. Looking forward to what Kevin Knight's going to be. And congratulations. Welcome to All Elite Wrestling. And then we had Mercedes Moné in action. Now, if you're on Twitter and if you might know some of my favorite wrestlers, women's wrestlers, the former Mission Pro Tag Team Champions, the Renegade Twins, you'll notice that Ma Renegade, the Renegade Twins' mom, was heavily tweeting out and promoting this in-action match. Well, that's because, of course, Robin Renegade was her opponent. And of all the internet and interwebs have been speculating that the Renegade Twins may join up with Mercedes Moné as her backup, her muscle, what have you. Threw us a little off because she was actually her opponent, but we'll get to that in just a second. And then Collision, of course, one of those things where we're all anticipating. A lot of us noticed on Twitter another person chiming in when Mercedes Moné said, hey, I'll be in action tonight. Come say hi. None other than the fallen goddess Athena replied, might just say hi tonight herself. She happened to be in the building. And the Collision folks, of course, made sure to remind us of this. And they actually featured this on the screen right before this match. Foreshadowing anybody? I don't know. I mean, this was about as subtle as a dump truck. But anyways, let's talk about the match first. Yes, Robin Renegade looking fantastic, having some great moves. I felt like she was a great opponent for Mercedes Moné. They had great chemistry, not quite the chemistry that Mercedes has with Chris Statlander, but it was definitely great chemistry. Robin Renegade has come so far. We miss Charlotte, but Robin is looking fantastic, and she is definitely a backbone of this operation. I hope she gets more TV time, and perhaps she will, because after the 1, 2, 3, Robin kind of stayed in the corner, kind of licking her wounds. And Mercedes Moné, of course, got interviewed by Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone talking about how great she's doing. Mercedes Moné announced that she's going after the Owen crop or carp. She couldn't quite get it out, but I think that's because she took a couple of shots to the chin from old Robin Renegade. That tends to happen. You get a chop from the Renegade Twins, it's going to mess you up for a couple days. But she also was managed to put Robin Renegade over a little bit. When Tony Schiavone asked about, hey, Billy Starks is going to be in this tournament, Mercedes got a little hostile, and she was really putting down Billy Starks, says she's a terrible wrestler. I don't know what she's doing or who trained her. Foreshadowing. But she talked about how Robin Renegade is much more a superior athlete and superior opponent, really lifting her up, which I feel like is setting up for something in the near future. But just as Mercedes Moné was continuing to put down whoever trained Billy Starks must be some kind of idiot or moron and should quit the business. Yes, it happened, everybody. Fallen Goddess music hits. Athena comes strutting out to the ring to a huge pop. She comes climbing in to the ring, and we get that confrontation, that face-to-face. The crowd was chanting, Athena, Athena, and Mercedes Moné, clutching her belts, looked legit worried. Where's this going to go? Going to be interesting to find out. Could Athena end up facing Mercedes Moné at All In, or Y'all In, because it's in Texas, for the TBS title? Or will it end up being title for title? Could Mercedes make the match so that it's for the Ring of Honor Championship as well as TBS title? It's going to have to be something we'll find out. But in the near future, it does look like we might be getting Athena and Billy Starks versus Mercedes and Robin Renegade, who actually came to Mercedes' rescue when Athena was going for the O face. She pushed Mercedes out of the way and took the O face herself. So that kind of sacrifice leads me to believe that despite losing to Mercedes tonight, Robin Renegade has a soft spot for Mercedes. And if Charlotte is coming back, we might actually get what we've always wanted. It sounds like we're getting one thing, Athena versus Mercedes. We could be getting the Renegade twins as backup. Looking forward to this. This is really upping everything. So excited. And let's be honest. Let's really be honest. Let's ignore the trolls, ignore the haters and everything. Mercedes Moné has truly improved. She's gotten the rust off. I think she's having her best matches of her career. And it started, I think, that first Statlander match. She's really getting into her persona. And at this Athena versus Mercedes match that we're going to get, it's going to slap. It's going to feed families. It's going to cure all diseases. It's going to be fantastic. I am ready for it. Or as the kids say, I am seated. And then we had our tag team match here of the Hurt Business, of course. They told Brian Keith and Big Beal that they need to start winning some matches before they can even be considered to have a title shot at the Hurt Syndicate. But Bad Apple and Large William took on Top Flight. This, of course, was exactly what you'd expect. Top Flight doing all the flippy doos and all the fantastic maneuvers versus a much more brutal Big Bill and Bad Apple. Now, I want to point out, again, continuing with the women's division heavy theme, Layla Gray was once again back with Top Flight, looking fantastic. This girl definitely knows how to dress with this sparkly top, and she had the jeans, and she was really behind them here. And, of course, Dante and Darius were doing everything, all kinds of creative maneuvers, but it just wasn't enough to put Big Bill and Brian Keith away. Big Bill's just too big, too much man, as Tony Schiavone says. And, of course, they got the 1, 2, 3. And as they left the ring and Top Flight was licking their wounds with Layla Gray, of course, the Crew showed up and looked like they were getting ready to make their move. And then AR Fox came to their rescue. So we have AR Fox and Top Flight. And it does sound like, as we saw in a segment later that night, that the Crew seems to be looking for a third member to match. And they actually approached Nick Wayne as a possibility. And they of course, Kip Sabian was involved with that. But my thoughts are, look at the recently signed Kevin Knight. That could be a third member. And if we have Kevin Knight and the Crew versus AR Fox and Top Flight in a trios match, dang. I mean, that's going to be a zero gravity match. It's going to be insane. Sign us up for that. I would love to see it. And then we had a promo backstage. And again, continuing with this women's division heavy night, we started off with Claudio speaking, I think, Swedish or some kind of language. I'm not sure. And he was cussing people out and determined that he's going to come on top. He has this singles match with Cope on Wednesday's Dynamite. And then Moxley sort of had a promo talking about the only people that he's afraid of is his wife and this woman, Marina Shafir. Now, Marina Shafir has gotten a lot of hate since she debuted in AEW, and I understand. And if you've been a Dynamite Download member for a long time, you know my take has always been Marina Shafir belongs with, at the time, the Blackpool Combat Club. You know, this whole when she was Blossom and you know me, you don't know me, that was not the direction she needed to go. This is where Marina Shafir needs to be. She needs to be this cold badass. Of course, she started speaking, I think, Moldavian or Russian or something, and then she's calling out Willow. And the best part of this is the reactions of Claudio and Moxley. Claudio's just looking like a proud papa or proud uncle, where Moxley's like legit looking like this thing scares him more than Cope's little spiky guy there. But I think this is the delivery we needed from Marina Shafir. My only nitpick, and again, this is not a complaint, it's just a nitpick, is we need Marina Shafir in action and putting away people quickly. We need to see that she has learned a lot from the Death Riders, and she needs to be having a lot of matches and dominating in submissions, possibly injuring people. And she needs to we need to see how she's dangerous before to really hype up this match with Willow. Because again, you're going up against Willow. I'm going to root for Willow. I mean, Willow is one of my faves. She's the babe with the power bomb. You got to build this. You got to build her up to be a stronger villain. But this was a great start, great promo. I hope we actually see more Marina Shafir actually in the ring, putting some people away. But there you go. Anyways, let us know what your take. Is this a good direction for her? Do you think Marina Shafir with the Death Riders is her best version, or what are your thoughts? And then we had the long-awaited face-to-face between Daniel Garcia, the TNT champion, and Adam Bebe Cole. Yeah. Me too. I don't know. Some of you might be huge fans of this, and here I love Daniel Garcia. I think he's progressed a long way. I have a lot of respect for him. And I have a lot of respect for Adam Cole. I want him to do well. I want him to find a good storyline. But this whole mess is just not doing it for me. I feel like the buildup has been kind of half-assed and hashed together. I really don't feel like there's any risk here. I would be fine with either of them being TNT champion, and I really don't care. And again, I want to keep it positive, but I got to keep it real. I wish that this had more buildup. I wish that there was more of an interesting story here, other than, I haven't beat you yet, you haven't beat me yet, or we had a 20-minute draw last week, and blah blah blah. First of all, I'm still a little sore that they tore Kyle O'Reilly away from the conglomeration. He's still kind of showing that personality, but he had his best personality there. With this undisputed stuff, he's not as Kyle O'Reilly as I want him to be, and it's just not good. Daddy Magic's fantastic, but even Daddy Magic can't make me interested in this feud. There hasn't been a build-up, and let's be honest, Adam Cole has been snake bitten ever since he broke his leg trying to support MJF. The whole Devil's Mask thing fell apart, and they've been really trying to build him up as the superstar he was before all of that. It's just not working. I'm not buying it, and I'm really not excited about this match. Therefore, I hate to say it, but this segment gets the Derpy Potato Award for me. I just was not into it. I don't really care. And I think they have a match at Dynasty, but that'll be my bathroom break. Sorry, Derpy Potato, for this match. I hope it turns out good. I hope there's some good stuff that comes out of it, but Derpy Potato for this one. And then we had another match. Now, if you think it's because I like more the flippy do and not the graps, this will prove you wrong, because we had a tremendous match between Dax Harwood and Wheeler Yuta. Now, just face value, I think a lot of people are assuming that Dax is going to get the W here. But as Full Tilt Deb pointed out, she's thinking Wheeler might win because she pays attention to the storylines and everything going on. And if you've been watching, Dax has been a little bit, someone needs to change his diaper. Somebody peed in his oatmeal. He's been real kind of a sourpuss, a little bit of a hothead lately. And of course, this was a tremendous match between these two guys. Dax laying on some great chops, but Wheeler actually showing what he knows and really performing very well. And of course, this time not in the position of being the guy that's going to eat the pin. He actually was able to perform very well, and he ultimately got the 1, 2, 3. And Claudio, of course, waiting ring outside of the ring, and he was just smiling again like a proud older brother. It was a great moment for them, but it's again building up that, hey, even Wheeler Yuta can get that 1, 2, 3. But this is where the real drama happened. This enraged Dax Harwood, and so he attacked Paul Turner and was yelling at him about his count and kind of lost his cool. Security comes out. They start grabbing Dax. He's like, hey, I'm not doing nothing. I'm not doing nothing. And who else came out but Cash Wheeler? Now, Dax started punching and shoving the security, and then he made the fatal mistake. He pushed his buddy, his brother in combat, Cash Wheeler, to the floor. And this was as the crowd chanted, I think it was something along the lines of, you flubbed up. And that's exactly what Dax Harwood did. You could see the look on Cash's face. Dax realizing, hey, maybe his little attitude adjustment here has gone too far. He offered to help Cash up. Cash refused, jumped up, got in his face, and then stormed off. So what's going on? Is Rated FTR in trouble? Or if you caught us on our Thursday night show, Miss Courtney brought up a great idea. We might be getting Cope versus Dax at some point after Dynasty and special referee Cash Wheeler. And that could take a lot of different directions. We're looking forward to seeing what happens. Of course, the trios, or they're going to go into the Death Riders for the trios titles. It could go either way. You want to check us out right the night before Dynasty for our preview show. We'll have some thoughts on that. But could FTR be on the verge of a breakup? Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are. But it's very, very intense. And then to me, match of the night, but I have to say, match of the night had a lot of competition because the main event was fantastic. That previous match was fantastic. But we had the ace of Collision, Hologram, taking on the Vanilla Baby Blake Christian. Now, Blake Christian and Shoddy Lee have been killing it on Ring of Honor. If you haven't been watching Ring of Honor, you're missing out. But they have really been killing it there. And Blake Christian, of course, has been killing it in the Indies, GCW, everywhere. He is a high flyer. But he's now kind of embracing this Vanilla Baby. I don't know if they're tag team with Shoddy Lee, if they're going to be the Chocolate Vanilla Swirl, whatever. There's a whole thing there. But as far as the athleticism, you know a hologram match is going to be awesome. But I want to highlight what a great dance partner Blake Christian was in this match. And no matter how much talent you have, you could be Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega. There are very few that could have a match with a broomstick. But if you have a good dance partner, if you have somebody that can keep up with you, you can do new moves, experiments, you can defy expectations and raise the bar to the next level. And that's exactly what both of these guys did. Blake Christian was a great dance partner. He was selling. He was actually doing some of his own awesome moves, including a Spanish fly off the steel steps that just looked insane. Hologram, of course, was doing his own stuff. He did a Hurricanrana off of the guardrail, off of Barry the Barricade, as Simon Miller likes to call him. And, of course, the Holo fans were throwing him up just like Full Tilt Deb and I. This was a tremendous match. I highly recommend you go check this out. Go watch the whole Collision because it's fantastic. Maybe fast forward through the Garcia Cole stuff, but this was fantastic. It's worth the watch. This could have been the main event. It was phenomenal. If you like the high flying stuff, this was great. I hope we see more Blake Christian and Shoddy Lee. Shoddy Lee is capable of this stuff too. I mean, I don't know if you remember, he had that match with Nathan Frazier a couple of years back that was just phenomenal. So keep your eye on the Chocolate Vanilla Swirl. But of course, Hologram came through for all the Holo fans, and it was a phenomenal, phenomenal match. And then we had a little backstage with Athena and Billy Starks. Billy Starks, it was announced, will be facing Jamie Hayter in the main event, replacing an injured Queen Aminata. We did have a segment about that, and I'll get to that in a moment, but this was kind of talking some trash where Athena announced she's going to be in the Owen tournament, and I think she should win the Owen tournament and to face Mercedes at Y'all In for both the TBS and putting her own Ring of Honor on the line. She's continuing the storyline from Ring of Honor. If you're not familiar, where Billy Starks is a minion for the Fallen Goddess, and of course, she kind of treats Billy Starks like a disappointing minion. And that's still kind of a storyline because essentially Athena is still kind of a heel in Ring of Honor, but going up against Mercedes Moné, heel schmeal. She's going to be the babyface favorite for this match going forward. And she was talking a lot of trash and talking trash to Mercedes Moné. I would love to see these two versus Robin Renegade and Mercedes real soon. I hope we get that match. And maybe that could be at the buy-in at Dynasty. I don't know, something like that. This is going to be phenomenal. And I love the development of this. Athena coming back onto AEW Dynamite and Collision is exactly what we need. And they did announce that on Wednesday, they're going to announce the brackets for the men's and women's tournament. And this feels different than the first two brackets. First two brackets, you could kind of pick who was going to be at least in the finals, if not who was going to win. Here, everybody's an A-list star. This is going to be a jam-packed tournament. Now, personally, I'm all for the final perhaps being, I'd love to see Athena win this whole thing, but you've got Thunder Rosa, you've got Chris Statlander, you've got all these superstars in this tournament, and there's still the possibility Mina Shirakawa might show up in the Owen. Maybe, we might have a confrontation between Mina and Mariah May. There's so many possibilities. I am for it. Looking forward to seeing what these picks are going to be and just strap in for this awesome time. Now, we did mention, of course, that Billy Starks is replacing the one and only Queen Aminata against Jamie Hayter because of her sprained wrist when her recent match with Julia Hart. And, of course, Serena Deeb comes to stick her little nose in and talk about how much better of a wrestler she is and saying that Queen Aminata, it's her fault she got injured, and it's her fault she got the loss because she's not following the book of Deeb and the Deeb dojo and all that stuff, and that she's a disappointment. So we're definitely building up to an Aminata versus Deeb, perhaps on the buy-in at some point. But again, continuing the women's division. Another highlight in the women's division for Collision tonight. You could have called this Women's Collision. I thought this was another cool moment. And I know, Serena Deeb's had there's been some mixed talk about, ever since she had that confrontation with Britt Baker, who no longer has her AEW markings on her social media. But they said no one cares. I think this is definitely a compelling matchup, and it's good to see Queen Aminata on mainstream TV, and I'd love to see more of that. But that brought us to the main event. As the great man Mark Henry said, it's time for the main event, and it was Jamie Hayter versus Billy Starks. And I have to say, it sounded like the crowd was divided evenly, as they should. There was as many chants for Jamie Hayter as there were for Billy Starks. It was a great showing. We had Billy doing some great moves. We had Jamie Hayter doing some awesome moves. And Jamie Hayter wasn't able to dominate completely. She did dominate for a lot of the match, but Billy was able to throw some of her own moves. And what a lot of people noticed, a lot of us missed about Jamie Hayter is we all know that she's got a tremendous, beautiful, voluptuous pair of biceps on her that, of course, she likes to kiss right before she delivers the Haterade. And that's ultimately what she did. She actually did a modified Haterade off the ropes, knocking down Billy Starks for the 1, 2, 3. But we didn't end just there, because Hayter gave Billy Starks her compliments, gave her flowers, and talked about how she's another kid that's going places. But then once again, coming out to the ring, we ended Collision with a face-off between Jamie Hayter and the Fallen Goddess Athena, talking some smack. And now, sports fans, true believers, I think we're looking at the Owen Cup Finals. I don't know. We'll have to see when the brackets come out. But imagine this being the Owen Cup Finals. Athena versus Hayter. Chef's kiss. Plug me in now. Sign me up for this. I am super excited for this. I hope this happens. Please, Tony Khan. I know you listen to our product. I appreciate the support. But please, let's let this be the final. Oh, it's going to be tremendous. Now, why did they suddenly decide? Maybe Tony Khan just suddenly decided, woke up and said, hey, let's have a women's division heavy Collision. Are they preparing for perhaps a ladies' night Dynamite down the road? Maybe they're really trying to push the women's division. Perhaps Tony Khan is trying to maybe entice a recently released female wrestling legend to maybe join AEW. Could be interesting to see. But regardless of what it was a fantastic night. And of course, in our draft here, let's go through it. Steven, of course, dominating with 33 points. SPD still right behind him on his tails at 31. Crayfish with 24. Brian, Courtney, and myself at 23. Mr. Bobby Boom himself at 20. Full Tilt Deb at 19. And surprisingly, the General of the Thunder Army at 16. But anything can happen between now and Dynasty. Of course, we're taking this draft all the way to Double or Nothing. Strap yourselves in for all of this. It's going to be a phenomenal night. Now, as far as top performer, I think the women's division that as a whole was the top performer. For me to pick a top performer female wouldn't do the others justice. To me, they were all top performers. But ironically, if I had to peel it back as who impressed me the most tonight, it actually was the Vanilla Baby himself. Blake Christian impressed, even though he didn't get a win, he impressed me because of what kind of dance partner he was for Hologram. Hologram was able to do more hologram stuff or digital shite compared to cowboy shite. He was able to do a lot more with Blake Christian. I think we're going to see a lot more of him. I would love to see more of the Chocolate Vanilla Swirl tag team in action. They were fantastic. So Blake Christian really impressed me. Of course, Kevin Knight impressed me. But it's ironic that I chose a male wrestler in this women's heavy night. But it doesn't, please understand, it's not taking away from the women's division truly shine. And if I could put an entire division as top performer, I would put the women's division in his place. And of course, SPD loved the Jay White match. Big stars there. Jay White was fantastic, reminding us that he is the Switchblade. I do think kind of similar to Blake Christian and Hologram, though, that a lot of that had to do with Kevin Knight being awesome in the ring as well. So let us know, who were your top performers? What was your favorite moment of the night? Would you like to see Gail Kim join in some capacity at AEW Women's Division? Is the women's division cooking like it never has before? And are you excited for Dynasty? Are you excited for Double or Nothing? Are you excited for Y'all In? Let us know in the comments and the chat. Of course, we will be live Thursday at our new time, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Please come join us in the live chat. It's a lot of fun. Ask anybody of the Dynamite Club members how much fun we have. We have so much fun. We have to have the smiles surgically removed from our butts after every episode. But until then, I am not Eddie Kingston. I am Mind Runner, and we will see you not in the ring. We will see you in our next episode.